The gray whisper opening channel narration amid the noise of day and the silence of the dark night. Where the boundary between reality and imagination begins to fade. There lies gray whisper, opening a doorway into this earthly world. Hello, my friends. Welcome to your channel. Tonight, for a few moments, I would like to be a guest in your home, bringing you a mysterious tale from beyond the veil. If you choose to walk this path with us, your likes and comments are more than support. They help this space grow and thrive. And if you have not yet joined our gathering, consider subscribing and activating the notification bell so that we may always remain by your side. Before we begin, there are things in this world that most people never see. Beings that walk beside humanity, unseen and unnoticed. Some serve the light, and others serve darker powers. For centuries, a small number of men and women have sought contact with these beings through prayer, discipline, and 40 nights of spiritual retreat. Some lost their minds. In the world we are about to explore, these beings are known as Moakals. Some are Ramani Moakals, servants of divine light who guide, protect, and assist those who walk the path of faith. Others are Shaitani Moakals, servants of darkness who deceive, tempt, and seek to lead people astray. A trial of patience and a trial of faith. During those 40 days and nights, the seeker is tested in countless ways. Some tests come in the form of fear, some through temptation and desire, some through grief and suffering, and some arrive disguised as the people they love most. The circle of protection used during this retreat is known as a mundal. But not everyone who enters the 40 nights returns unchanged. Some emerge stronger than before. We lift the veil on a small part of that hidden world. In the first 4 parts of The Secret of the Fig Trees in Grandfather's Garden, we followed the extraordinary journey of Mojtaba, a poor young man whose life was forever changed after a mysterious encounter in the fields. With the help of Orang and Arzhang, Mojtaba purchased lands, gardens, livestock, and homes, preparing for a future that seemed impossible only a short time before. But as hidden forces moved in the shadows, danger drew closer. When the lower jinn discovered the location of the sacred tablets, they launched a sudden attack against his home. What secrets lay hidden behind the gates they protected? And what destiny awaited Mojtaba beyond the garden walls? Now, let us continue the story. 15. The Secret of the Fig Trees in Grandfather's Garden. A tray of food had been left beside me. By then, darkness had fallen. Orang was waiting for me. I greeted him, and he returned my greeting. Without saying another word, he took my hand and brought me to their realm. But that land was no longer as it had been before. Many things had changed, and much of its former beauty seemed to have faded. We walked toward the palace. Along the way, we encountered the king. I offered him my respects. He returned the greeting and said, "Tonight, the second mansion will be completed. Tomorrow, after the tablet has been installed, return home." Orang, Arshang, and several workers will come there. Without anyone noticing, they will move all your belongings to your new home, including your sheep and your chickens and roosters. After everything has been transferred, Queen Banu will bring your wife there as well. Just do not forget the bags of money and the 2 jars you hid in the stable. Place this lock on the door of your old house. Then leave for your new home without any of the villagers realizing what has happened. He then handed me a large lock and continued, "Go now. Spend your final night in your old home. And do not worry. Your house will be protected." After that, we said our farewells. He departed, and I entered the house. Tulut and Queen Banu were sitting together and talking. I greeted them. Queen Banu said, "Dinner is ready." In my thoughts, I said to her, "Please wait a moment." I then said quietly to Queen Banu, "You know that tomorrow we must leave this village." "Yes," she replied. "I know." "Then please tell Tulut gently. I have planned to tell her tomorrow morning. If Tulut learns about it now, she may accidentally tell them something." I thanked God for all their wisdom, their foresight, and, above all, for having them beside me. Then I said, "In that case, serve dinner a little later so they can join us. And prepare more food." She smiled and replied, "Everything has already been arranged. Do not worry." Then she returned to Tulut. Less than an hour later, Tulut's family arrived. And we, too, prepared ourselves for sleep. Morning came. After washing my face and hands, I returned home. I ate breakfast, picked up my coat, and headed toward the edge of the village. I saw Orang waiting for me. The house was finished. I greeted Arshang. He returned my greeting, then handed me the blue bag and said, "Take out the tablet." I removed the tablet. Arshang spread the mortar across the back of the tablet and placed it in my hands facing the correct direction. Then he said, First recite the sacred words, then install this tablet just as you installed the other two. After that, he lifted me up. The entrance of the house stood high above us. We rose into the air, suspended between earth and sky. When we reached the gateway, I loudly recited the sacred words and moved the tablet toward the entrance. The tablet was pulled forward like a magnet and fused with the gateway itself. Slowly, I descended and stepped inside. The house was beautiful. Everything inside was new. New wardrobes and many elegant furnishings filled the great hall. I thanked them. Together, we left the house and walked out of the garden. The moment I stepped inside, I froze in astonishment. For several minutes, I could neither walk nor speak. Arshang said, "For us, time and space do not carry the same meaning they do for humans. The two worlds are woven together. But because time flows differently for us, no human can see our realm or enter it unless we allow it. That beautiful plain, those trees unlike any I had ever seen, all stood before my eyes. Was I truly standing in the land of the benevolent jinn? Or perhaps it would be more accurate to say that their realm had always existed inside this very garden, and I had simply been unable to see it. Yet I had no answers. By then, I had learned to be patient and not allow curiosity to rule me. We continued forward. Soon we reached the palace. They greeted us respectfully. We acknowledged them with a nod and entered. The king and his son were seated upon their thrones. I offered my greetings. Both returned them. The king smiled and said, "But before anything else, there is something I want to show you." I took it. He said, "Do not close your eyes." Suddenly we lifted into the air. My astonishment grew with every passing moment. From above, I could see everything. The palace, the green fields. In truth, the entire realm existed within those 3 circles of fig trees. Mojtaba looked at his grandfather and said, "Father, is such a thing even possible? No matter how hard I try, I cannot believe it." Grandfather smiled and replied, "I know it is difficult to believe. But before long, you will see everything with your own eyes." At first, I thought I had lost my senses. I believed it was all an illusion. But when I thought about everything that had happened over those days, I realized that in their world, nothing is impossible. Then the king continued, "Because of the war we are fighting against the tribes of the lower jinn, we brought our entire realm into this garden. The materials used to build our homes are different from those used in yours. That is why our homes needed to remain separated from the earth. That man was you. After you saved my son's life and healed his leg, I knew you were the one. And Arshang, who is the greatest architect among our people, showed you the exact places where each hole needed to be dug and each sapling planted. Because those cuttings came from our world, they adapted quickly to the water and soil here and grew into mighty trees. Without realizing it, he had answered nearly every question I had never even asked. He smiled, took my hand, and together we descended from the roof. Gather your belongings and do exactly as I instructed you last night. Then I left the palace and returned to my village with Orang and Arshang. The workers began moving our belongings. I entered the stable, collected the money bag and the 2 jars, and handed them to Orang. Queen Banu had already explained everything to Tullet. At first, she had been saddened by the thought of leaving her family behind. But Queen Banu had assured her that once we settled into our new home, a house would also be prepared for her family. And within a few months, Tullet's relatives and Mustafa's mother would be brought there as well. Those words had convinced her to accept the move. A few minutes later, I heard Orang's voice. Our work here is finished. Only the items inside the house remain. It would be better if your wife left with us first. Then we will finish the rest. We should leave soon. Tullet nodded. Give me a few minutes. She walked to the kitchen and returned carrying the same leather bag in which the Khan had once paid me. She handed it to me and said, and in the blink of an eye, they vanished. Orang and Arshang entered. And within moments, the house was completely empty. I looked at the house one last time, and fastened the lock upon it. Orang returned. He took my hand. Karbali Hossein and Arshang were discussing final payments and accounts. I approached them and greeted them. Karbali congratulated me. Then Arshang pulled 2 bundles of money from his coat and handed them to him. Karbali said goodbye and departed. Inside, the king was waiting. I greeted him. He returned my greeting. I said, our belongings have been moved, and we have settled into the new home. We do not have much time left. Soon we will march to war against the lower jinn. You must protect the city and watch over our children. However, 2 women of our tribe will remain here until we return. The king smiled and said, that duty is no less important than fighting beside us. I lowered my head in respect. I took my leave and returned home. I sat beside her and lost myself in thought. A few minutes later, sleep claimed me as well. 17. Many minutes had passed, or how many hours? I got to my feet and stepped outside the house. Come to the garden through the hidden gate. I headed toward the garden. I left through the ordinary entrance and entered through the hidden gate. King Mer and Queen Banu, his wife, dressed in full battle armor. They truly looked worthy of their royal titles. I offered my greetings. Water the fig trees on time. I lowered my head in respect and acknowledgement. We shook hands and said our farewells. They vanished before my eyes. A heavy sadness settled in my heart. And the truth was that they were more than family to me. Seeing my sorrow, Orang said, "The king, Queen Banu, and our tribe are seasoned warriors. They have never been defeated in battle. You should return home and rest. Arshang and I will watch over everything. If anything happens, we will inform you. Go now. For tomorrow we have much work to do." I said goodbye to them and returned home. When I woke up, I found another woman in the house. She greeted me. I returned her greeting. From today until Queen Banu returns, I will help your wife. You can focus on your duties without concern. I thanked her. Then I left the house. I picked up my shovel and walked toward the fig trees. I placed my hand on the soil. It was dry, even though I had watered it only the day before. Orang appeared behind me. After greeting me, he said, "That is true. I watered them yesterday as well. But do not forget, these trees are different from the trees of your world. According to your time, they must be watered every day." Then I opened the water channel from the river toward the fig trees. A separate stream flowed toward each tree. The water first entered the outer circle, filling the basin beside each one. Then it moved into the second circle, where the same thing happened again. When every basin had been filled, the water flowed toward the central tree. Once the basin around that tree was filled as well, I closed the channel. The king's son was inside the palace, and Arshang stood beside him. I greeted them. They both nodded in agreement. We left the palace. Then I said to Orang and Arshang, "If we want to protect these children more effectively, it would be better to keep them together in one place. For example, inside the palace. That way the king's son will not be alone. And we can watch over all of them much more easily. That is a good idea. So we brought the children to the palace and settled them there. Everything became much easier after that. The only thing we had to do was take them around the realm every day. I never asked why, but it was a recommendation Arshang had made. I helped them with that task every day. 10 years passed, according to our time, and that became our daily routine. Throughout those 10 years, the messenger brought news of the king and his people, and carried news of us back to them. Yes. According to our world, 10 years had passed since the king, Queen Banu, and their tribe had gone to war. I woke up to the sound of Orang's voice in my mind. I stepped outside. Both Orang and Arshang looked happy. I hope you bring good news. Orang smiled and replied, "The king, Queen Banu, and the tribe have returned." Filled with joy, I hurried toward the hidden gate and the palace. The king was seated upon his throne. I greeted him and approached. He returned my greeting. Then he rose from his seat and embraced me like a brother. I returned her greeting and expressed my happiness at their return. The king seated me beside him and said, "A vast army of the lower jinn stood before us. Our numbers were far smaller. Yet our warriors fought bravely for 3 consecutive days and destroyed many of them. On the 4th day, the battle moved into a valley surrounded on all sides by towering mountains. The valley had only one entrance and one exit. The enemy blocked the way out. They stood upon the mountaintops. We had already lost many of our warriors, when suddenly the sky split apart, surrounding the lower jinn from every direction. Their commander stepped forward, the king of all Muslim jinn, who had come to aid us. And we will never abandon our fellow worshippers of God to stand alone against you." I greeted him. He returned my greeting. His arrival breathed new life into our army. That day we broke free from the encirclement. We killed many of our enemies. When the day ended, that night, we met with Lord Zafar and his commanders, and planned a strategy for the next day. The following morning, their commander was killed. Many were slain. Some were taken prisoner, and the rest chose flight over resistance. And we were victorious. Curiously, I said, "But you have only described 5 days of war. while you were gone for 10 years. The king smiled and replied, "Our time is different from yours. Those 5 days in our world lasted 10 years in yours." I nodded to show that I understood. We spoke together for another hour. Then I asked permission to leave and returned home. Your aunts had also been born, and your grandmother was pregnant with your uncle. I once again returned to my work in the garden, caring for the sheep, the cattle, and the farmland. 18. Then Mustafa turned to Mojtaba and said, "Tonight, it is your turn to take on this secret and the mission you have been chosen for. As long as I am alive, I will continue carrying out these duties myself. It will be your turn to continue this path." Then he continued, "I have told you all of this so that whatever you see tonight." The grandfather clock struck midnight. A white light spread throughout the hall, and from within that light, 3 figures appeared, dressed in magnificent garments. A man wearing a crown, a woman with a smaller crown upon her head, and a young boy. My grandfather greeted them with respect. They returned his greeting. My grandfather continued, "The one you have chosen to continue the mission. Your grandfather has told you everything. And everything he told you is true." I was still stunned. He said, "Do not be afraid." Then we slowly rose into the air. My grandfather and the others came with us. We left the garden through its gate. Then we stopped before a wall. Appeared before my eyes. We approached it and stepped through. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. And bright daylight had taken its place. For a moment, I looked behind me. The doorway was closing. And beyond it, the darkness of night remained, a sign of 2 different worlds existing side by side. A beautiful city, beautiful houses, and a palace even more magnificent. Exactly as my grandfather had described. We continued flying until we stood upon its rooftop. I looked down. The city, and everything around it. And far below, I could see my grandfather's house and garden. At that time, I was a second-year engineering student. There was no science in this world capable of explaining what I was seeing. The king said, "You are free to choose." He said, "For now, your grandfather is still here. And you can continue your studies and your work in the city. May God grant my grandfather a long life. But what if one day he is gone and my work in the city is not yet finished?" You may choose someone to take your place until your work is complete. Of course, we also have the right to approve that person. You will continue until we approve a suitable person. After much discussion, I agreed. During a ceremony, the king gave me a ring. I had seen a similar one on my grandfather's hand, but mine held a white gemstone. The king said, "No matter where you are in the world, if you ever need our help." Then he turned toward two men standing nearby and said, "At that very moment, Orang and Arshang will come to your aid." After the ceremony, and after meeting them, we departed from the palace and returned to his home. I returned to Tehran. I studied harder than ever before. Later, I met a woman named Maryam. Yes, she became my wife, Maryam. Milad, my eldest son. Mina, my daughter. And Mayad, my second son and the heir to this mission. This year he turned 18 and has been accepted into medical school, which means that in 2 years, throughout my years of study, after graduation, and after my marriage, I visited my grandfather and my parents several times every year. My parents lived in one of the houses that my grandfather had purchased from Bahadur Khan and restored. By then, I was 35 years old. I owned a factory of my own. Then news reached me that my grandfather had fallen seriously ill. My grandfather had been waiting for me. He asked them all to leave the room and said, "Mojtaba, until today, I have carried out all of these responsibilities with the help of Orang and Arshang. But from tomorrow onward, it will be your turn." Then he handed me the deed to the garden and said, "I have already given everyone their share. But if any problem ever arises, seek help from the king and Queen Banu." At that very moment, they appeared. I greeted them. They returned my greeting. The king took my grandfather's hand and said, "My friend and brother, Mustafa, we have lived side by side for many years. If we owe you anything, forgive us." My grandfather replied, "My friend and brother, I forgive you completely. I ask only that after I am gone, and help Mojtaba throughout his life." My grandfather slowly closed his eyes and fell into his eternal sleep. The king removed the ring from his hand. Then he took my hand. He removed my ring as well, and placed upon my finger the ring with the red gemstone. Then he said, From this day forward, I replied, but my work in the city is not yet finished. He said, and when your work is complete, come here yourself and continue the mission. Then they departed. I called my family into the room. The next morning, we buried him. A large crowd attended his funeral and memorial services. After the seventh night ceremony, I returned to Tehran. I sent the first candidate to take my place. The second candidate was the same, and the third, and the fourth, until one day a tea server at my factory brought me tea. After I ended the call, he said, "Sir, I heard what you were discussing. I am willing to live there with my family." That night, I touched the gemstone of my ring. Orang appeared. I explained everything to him, then returned. "The king has approved him," he said. That night, Orang appeared. I noticed the man lowered his head respectfully. I asked, "You can see him?" Orang answered before the man could speak, "Yes. His sight is open." That tea server, whose name was Ramadan, and I have continued overseeing my work in Tehran. At least once every month, I visit the garden. And I have decided to hand all of my business affairs to my eldest son, Milad, and to my son-in-law, while I move to the garden myself and take responsibility for the remaining duties. Then, when my younger son reaches the age of 20, I will pass the mission on to him. As long as I live. And after me, Mayad will continue that responsibility. Dear friends, tonight, our journey through the secret of the fig trees in grandfather's garden comes to an end. What began as a simple memory shared by Mojtaba became the extraordinary story of Mustafa, a man whose life was forever changed after a single encounter on a dark and mysterious night. Through hidden worlds, ancient secrets, unexpected friendships, and trials that tested both courage and faith, we witnessed a story that shaped not only one life, but the lives of generations that followed. Thank you for walking this path with us. Thank you for sharing these moments of wonder, mystery, and imagination. Your thoughts, interpretations, and reflections are always welcome. They help these stories travel farther and keep the whispers alive. And beyond every ending, another story waits to be told. With another tale, another secret, and another journey into the unknown. Between the noise of day and the silence of the dark night, may light guide your path, and may your dreams lead you only where you are meant to go. headphone wishing you a peaceful night ahead. And remember, this may be the end of one story, but it is only the beginning of many more. Leave the whispers to us. Gray Whisper.